So I want to start with, I just want to give you a thank you. I really appreciate your contributions to cinema. And I'm really glad that you spend your time making movies. I just really want to start with that.
Thank you.
And I have hopefully some unique questions that you've not been asked today. If someone has actually never seen any of your work before, what is the first thing you'd like them watching and why?
I will say this film, Bardo, I think is something that in a way I feel contains a lot of the things that I have learned and that I have accumulated some experience that I'm very happy about this film, you know.
You obviously have many people that want to work with you. However, maybe there's a project you haven't been able to get made. So if you could get the financing to make anything you want, what would you make and why?
I don't have nothing in mind. I had a project that I was developing a little earlier, but there was something that it was suddenly I was attracted much more by this one that was personal, and it got much more power, you know, traction in me, and there was for a reason. So I think besides that project that I was developing, that I was excited about it. But in the moment that it was deviated and I start feeling more toward this, when I knew that it was not enough traction, and that's it. So I don't have nothing that I will say I will die now to do it. No, I think it will come, hopefully, probably, but nothing now that I have in my pocket.
Which of your previous films, and it might be this one, changed the most in the editing room in ways that you did not expect?
I will say a combination between Amores Perros and Babel. I think those were the films that in a way I really went into, and there was a lot of jambalaba, you know, and they were changing depending on how I put the pieces. So they were a little bit more liquid and more flexible in that sense. So I think those were the films that were a little bit more edited and changeable in a way.
Which of your films actually ended up with the most deleted scenes that are just still sitting in a vault somewhere?
I think this one.
Really?
Yeah. There's many scenes that I love that I shot and that didn't make it, because even the original version didn't make it. But I really love it. I even considering maybe to put it to bring them at some point, because there are some of them that are really worth it, you know. Not in the film, but to do something with them.
Well, I actually wanted to, that's something that I'm so curious about. I've asked this of so many filmmakers. One of the advantages of Netflix and streaming is you're not beholden to a certain rule book. There's so many abilities to release things as extras. And obviously your work is very, I want to see it. I want to see what you've cut out. I want to see those scenes. So would you consider releasing these as deleted scenes, or would you consider doing an extended cut, or does any of that interest you?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet how to do it, because I think you have to give it the context and some purpose. You know what I mean? I think it's not nothing that can leave you like slices and that's it. But I'm interested because there's a couple of things, you know, some things that I think is worded thematically and substantially and visually that were very interesting things that I will need to think how to really present it and to give a proper context to that, you know. But yeah, I would love to, you know, to find that reason.
In Bardo, in many of your other films, you have some incredible shots, things that my jaw just hits the ground. And I'm curious of your resume, which shot or sequence ended up being the real backbreaker, the one that you're like, F this?
I will say that one of the most exciting moments, it was in Revenant when we were shooting the battle and the trappers are going toward the boat, and it was a huge camera movement with a huge crane and choreography and special effects and water, cold, and you know, camera moves with the blocking of every actor and hundreds of extras and horses and fire. I mean, it was kind of crazy. So after, you know, several days of rehearsing and finding out the way to solve it and approach it properly, narratively, dramatically, with the tension and with the rhythm that it needed, and find the technical way to do it. We were just going into the end of the day, and we have such a little amount of light, and the things were not working because something happened all the time, and the camera has to start running with some guys panning to the left, horses coming this way, then the camera panning to the left, there's swords and that and rifles, and then completely 180 degrees, then going there, then going to the water, then taking out from the water, then keep working with the water, and then they climb into the boat, and then pan, and then we see it was a crazy, ambitious kind of thing. But after it was just the last take that literally there was no exposition. And then we got it one, and it was, I can't remember the excitement of the whole crew and the whole actors. It was like a huge celebration. That's one of the moments that I remember. That it was like, okay, I like this. I like the challenge to solve things like that, And it was very powerful emotion. There was a reason, not only like the technique, but it was really adrenaline going on, and that's what I want to show.
When you present to your crew, because some of your shots are, even in Bardo, you have that amazing sequence in the California Dancing Club, I believe it's called, where it's a 7-minute shot that as I was watching it, my jaw was on the ground because of how many extras were in there and everything, all the choreography. When you present to your crew what you are planning on accomplishing in a moment like that, does anyone start crying?
No, but they should, because it was very difficult, that one, because the challenge was that this place was with no AC, in the middle of the pandemic, everybody's sweating, smoking. The extras has the mask. Every take they have to take out the mask. Some of them obviously forgot to take out the mask, so we have to cut, and everybody coughing. We thought that we will die. It was the amount of tests for 800 people every day, dress them, and then make sure that none of them look to the camera, and the choreography, and then to solve the camera things, and then obviously the timing of Jimena clapping for the music was, I edited before I wrote it from the script, so the music was absolutely alive. So we have to hit the marks in every single level. So it took us, a couple of days of really hard rehearsal and find the rhythm. I think every art should aspire to music. I think music is God and rhythm. So in a way, I think I enjoyed that very much, but it was painful to do it,
I want to ask you a specific question. I love the use of Let's Dance by David Bowie, but not just Let's Dance by David Bowie, the a cappella version where you just hear his voice. And it's just a tremendous sequence. Can you talk about why you wanted that version of Let's Dance and having David Bowie's voice really carry that?
I wanted, this moment of sequence of joy with family, with friends, with Mexican, salsa and cumbia, and the celebration of the narco speech and all that thing that make Mexico Mexico. And I want this to be a very, very sweaty, electric vibe of my country, and in the enjoyment of all these characters for a moment. And at some point, I thought that obviously it would be beautiful that this is a walk in the conscious of a character. All the film is that. It's a lucid dream. And I want suddenly that this, as in the dreams, always something is off, something feels real, but there's something. And I want to get into that lucid dream again, a liquid kind of sensation, to get inside him and how he was feeling about it, and to isolate him, but still be surrounded by like a shared loneliness, but enjoying the depth, So I used that 3 times. I used it here, I used it with Peter Gabriel and Genesis song in the top shot of the bed, and I used it with Jose in the beach too. So I think it was a way for me to understand that this guy can talk without moving his lips, or can be, mumbling songs inside him without nobody noticing. It was a way to be inside his head, in my point of view.
I really enjoyed the opening shot of the film, and I'm always curious how a writer-director, picks how he wants a film to open. So how did you decide on what's sort of behind you as the opening?
It was the first image that came to my mind, to be honest. It was something that I recurrently dream. And it's a dream that is pleasant, but at the same time, it's always feeling dangerous because I always feel that I'm flying very close to the ground and that any false movement can really hit the ground. So it's like walking in the line with some pleasant feeling, and it's recurrent kind of thing. Sometimes disappear for years and then suddenly come, and it's every day or every week that I feel the same. And I have found people that have the same. I don't know if you have dreamed about that, but it's something. And then I knew that was. And then I said, okay, it's going to be the shadow project. And I was very excited about it. And then when I said, okay, how are we going to do this? Then it took me almost a year to solve it, how to do that, because it's something that I didn't know how to do it, how to solve it technically. The problem with this film is that all the fabric of this film is made of elusive kind of emotions and feelings and dreams and things, but those things are immaterial. There's no recipe. and to turn them in an idea and then to write them and convert a sequence and give a reason and then execute them and flesh them out is super difficult. So anyway, it's funny because now you see how it's a shadow fly, but to make that was a real kind of equation, how to technically we can do that. Anyway, it was fascinating, but it came to me very early in the script.
One of the things about this film, because it's a lucid dream and it's all these different moments sketched together, is that there is no actual well, let me take that back. I'm curious about the editing process because that's ultimately the final rewrite, and it's where every film comes together. Can you sort of talk about how the film possibly changed the structure as you were in the editing room? Because there are many ways of playing this.
Funny enough, end up very, very faithful, not perfectly, but faithful to the original script. I mean, to the idea of the script. It was built in 32 sequences. So in a way, every sequence, in a way, it's blended again with the other one, with it's a story with no story, right? And there's no structure. It's only an atmosphere. And the only kind of a spine is, or middle or center is emotional. So the film is actually a flexible film in that sense. But I found that in the script, it took me 4 years to put that together. So it was not so different from the script. I extract some things that, as I told you, didn't make it. But they were in a way attending the chronological order that they were intended,
Can I ask you, how many deleted scenes did you end up with? We're talking like 30 minutes or more?
Yeah, like 30 minutes probably, yeah.
Now that I've seen the entire film, the ending, I don't want to get into spoilers, but the ending opens the door on watching the film again and presenting you with new information that allows you to see things. And I'm curious if you ever thought about presenting some of the information at the end earlier in the film to change your perspective on what you were watching, or was it always designed with that in mind?
No, it was always designed in mind. What you said, I think, is if there's a structure of this film is circular. It basically ends when it starts. There's a famous novel of Julio Cortázar, a genius Argentinian writer that is called Rayuela. And Rayuela is very famous because it's a novel that actually you can start in the middle, in the beginning, in the end, and no matter where you go in, it's a circular thing and you will understand everything. So, I think that this film is a little bit like Rayuela, it's made in circles. There's no literally like a act 1, act 2, act 3 plot point. No, that doesn't exist. It's just a dream, and you can go in the moment that you want. And if you put together the beginning and the end, it will start again. This is what I feel.
I'm curious, who do you trust for honest feedback? And when you showed them this film, was any feedback that you got, did you sort of all of a sudden say, oh, that makes a lot of sense, I need to adjust this?
Yeah, I think normally I show the film to close friends that I respect, that I have, that I trust, that I have confidence. And obviously the two that is Guillermo del Toro and Alfonso Cuarón. And I think, it's great to have that. You know what I mean? I think there's point of view that sometimes we do not agree, but sometimes they can open their interesting exercise for me to apply. And that's always super beneficial. We do that from the beginning of our careers, So yeah, I think they were very supportive, and I have another friends that I was very, very, very happy that they kind of give me their thoughts, you know.
I loved seeing the movie last night in IMAX and your choice of the large format 65 mil for, how you shot it. Can you sort of talk about why you wanted to shoot it on that format?
Especially because of that, I think this film, because the canvas and the paintings that I wanted, being this a dream and big events and intimate events, but I think I want this to feel cinematic, sensorial, immersive, to get into the dream of some person. In virtual reality, carne y arena, I put the people in that. And I don't know, I was very interested in this sensorial, immersive situation that you can really enjoy cinema with a big format, with the sound design that took us 1 year to really embrace people in this kind of, trip. And I think the big format is made for that. We're going to have a 70 millimeters in LA and New York. We're going to have a 35 print too, but I think the 70 millimeters, I'm going to revise it now in 1 hour. I'm going to photocam to revise it. So we are finishing. So yeah, I love the big format,
When you say revise it, do you mean like watch it for color correction and stuff?
Exactly. Yeah.
So New York and LA, I'm just trying to think about seeing it in 70 millimeter now.
No, I think you will enjoy it. If we hit the right spot, it has been challenging. The 35 looks amazing. It's pristine and powerful. And the 70, I think if we hit the right thing, I think it will be beautiful too.
Well, the thing that I've also found is that when someone shoots in 65 the way you did, and then it gets shrunk down to 35, it still looks incredible. It looks amazing, actually, because of the way you shot it originally.
Exactly, yeah. That's exactly right. The information that is now in these cameras is just crazy,
And that leads me to my next thing. I'm almost out of time, but how shooting with 65 like this, I love the IMAX format. Is shooting in IMAX or this kind of format something that you want to do in the future for your, whatever you choose to do next? Is that something that you fell in love with that format?
Yeah, I think 65 for me. But sometimes you I think depending the film, I think every film needs and demand its own grammatical language and its own texture and its own thing. You can see kind of things in 16 millimeters with all lenses and glasses, and it's super powerful and beautiful and it's a little hazy and what I'm saying is not everything has to be crispy and pristine. I think every film demands. So I think it depends in the film that I think I choose what is the right patina, for each of them.
You obviously plan your shots and what you want to accomplish before you get on set very clearly. And I'm curious how much ends up being spontaneous on set when you are in the moment, and how much is it sort of very regimented based on what you've previously planned?
I think in this film, everything was absolutely pre-planned, rehearsed, controlled, and incredibly specific. Every step, every movement, camera, actors. I did storyboards for each of them. So I think it's the more precise film I have done in my life. And the reason is that when you are trying to get that lucid dream sensation where something is off and that you are grounded in reality, but that the whole thing you cannot capture that, you cannot improvise that you don't achieve that by chance. You have to design it in every sense with the design of the light direction, the camera movement, the performance of the actor has to be not reacting but observing all the time. The lights are moving even when nobody perceives it. So I did a lot of things for you to feel something is off, and that has to be perfectly planned and designed, because if not, it will be too real or too, so all the film navigate in this, reality, imagination all the time. So you have to design that, to have to go build it,
On that note, I need to stop. I'm just going to say again, thank you for making movies. I really appreciate your art. And
Thank you.
Have fun at Photochem.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Good to see you.